Jackie, for more on the continuing crisis at the border, we'll bring in former acting ICE director and Fox News contributor Tom Homan. Tom, we just heard that report from Bill Malusian down there. Key word there at the end, who's coming in? He says Sri Lanka. I want to ask you, in the wake of this situation, this crisis in Afghanistan and now the border, do you see a tie to the vulnerabilities of who's coming in at our border?
Absolutely. Look, I've been saying, Griff, for 2 years that this border, when it's vulnerable, it's just not vulnerable to illegal immigration. It's vulnerable to public safety threats because criminals come across. It's vulnerable to public health threats because they're releasing COVID cases. But I said from day one, it's a national security issue. Border Patrol's already arrested 17 nationals from Afghanistan this year. And look, if you look at special interest aliens, those on the terror watch list, they've already arrested 5. There's 300,000 gotaways. Now, terrorists don't want to get caught. They're going to be a part of that 300,000 that don't get caught because the cartels tie the Border Patrol up to these family units, and that's when that 300,000 go through and the fentanyl goes through. That's when the bad guys go through. So my concern is this: if they arrested 5, how many didn't they arrest? Now the U.S. government's going to admit they've arrested 15 known suspected terrorists in the last decade. That's what they're going to admit to. But intelligence reports says it's closer to 100. They've already arrested over 100 in Darien Gap in Panama, HSI along with Panama special agents that were en route to the United States in the last 5 years. Luckily, we caught them in Panama and deported them from there. This is an extreme of vulnerability on the southwest border. With 50% of the Border Patrol off the line processing aliens, we have never been more vulnerable to terrorists entering this country ever in my career. So the Biden administration we have to secure this border because this is an extreme national security issue at this time.
So let me draw on that, though, because the outgoing Border Patrol chief, Rodney Scott, in the message to his farewell to the Border Patrol agents, said he views this not as just a crisis at our border, but in his words, a national security crisis. As aforementioned, some coming across our border and the southern border have hit the terror watch list. But now we have the CBP, in their words, saying a, quote, very small number of Afghan evacuees flagged for concern at bases around the world. We have CBP agents like yourself that have the experience doing the vetting. Do you see that threat highly increased now because of the mass evacuation in Afghanistan?
Yeah, because CBP personnel don't know who these people are. Look, there's no U.S. embassy there. There's no consulate office there anymore. They've been evacuated. So how are we verifying passports are genuine? How are we verifying identity documents because the Afghan government's no longer in charge? It's the Taliban. There's no way to verify the authenticity of identity documents and who these people really are. I know for a fact, talking to law enforcement at Dulles Airport here in D.C., that a lot of these Afghans getting off the planes, they have zero identification, not one piece of paper on who they are. So here's the problem. How do you vet them when you don't have any documents from the Afghan government or from the American consulate? I'll add something else.
Hey,
January,
Tom,
February, March of this year,
Tom,
84% of SIVs were denied.
I hate to cut you off right there, Tom. We've got to go down to New Orleans now. We're joined the press conference there